Hey, happy Sunday. Happy first Sunday in September. I am so grateful for the month of September and all that it will bring. I am Coach Yolanda, International Spiritual Life Coach and owner of Evolving Spirit Wellness. This is Mama Meditations. Whether you are watching live or watching the replay, I am grateful for your presence. I'm grateful for your support. And as always, always, this is a collaborative effort. If there are comments, questions that you want to place in the comment section, please do. Be mindful that whatever you post may become part of the recording and can be seen by others. We are in the year of the inner child. And as we have gone through so many different developmental stages, I felt it necessary for us to take our time with this one. This is the 21 to 35 years of age developmental stage. On Wednesday, we talked about what can happen in between that time period with your Saturn return. I hope that you found that information valuable. It is located on the YouTube channel. If you did not join us live, you can always go back to watch that one and any of the inner child meditations. I call it mama meditations because you know how your mother does things in a way that no one else does them. She has her own way of doing things. And so for me, I like to meditate like your mama would. I'm not necessarily going to do it in a traditional way. It's going to be done in a way that I would talk to my own children because I believe that we are all children of the universe, children of the source energy that loves us, binds us, and keeps us together. And so there's a little bit of meditation, there's a lot of conversation. I value the comments that come through that support the flow of our time together. We try to keep it within an hour, but we just let things go as they are intended to do. And so for this Sunday, you may notice that I'm a little bit more relaxed and laid back. I am so at peace. For those of you who are not aware, I am transitioning out of my business, Evolving Spirit Wellness, into something that looks vastly different. My life has changed, my focus has changed, my vision has changed. And so I am transitioning out of what I thought would be into something new. And I'm going to do that with as much ease and softness and grace as possible. And so this weekend has just been filled with so many graceful moments. There used to be a time when I was preparing for Mama Meditations where I would be all anxious, posting, because I was concerned and worried about who was watching, how many people are going to be viewing. That's of no concern to me anymore. And so this is so laid back and relaxed, and we're going to take our time. And that is for me to be gentle with myself and to also offer you from a place of love and not a place of anxiousness and fear and worry about things that have absolutely nothing to do with you or inner child healing. Inner child healing, in many ways, is going back to look at past experiences to see how they are showing up in the present. And as I said last Sunday and on Wednesday, inner child healing happens across our lifespan. Even if you are not in a particular developmental stage or haven't reached a particular developmental stage, it doesn't mean that you can't look at the aspects of what can go on in that time of development. And so, talking about 21 years of age to 35 years of age, even if you're in it right now, there's still some awarenesses that may support you as you develop. If it's a long time ago, you may have to go back and look at your past memories, your past histories, your past experiences to see, is this stuff still coming up? Like a child, everything becomes new when you look at it with a different perspective. And so, in many ways, we are all children until we master a particular skill or we get to a particular level of healing. We are all children. Hello, my love. My love says hello, everyone. And so take it with that perspective, that this is not about you digging through your past history to see where you are wrong, to see who did you wrong, to see what things were horrible, traumatic, and horrific. That might come up. Inner child healing is really about, let me look at my old behaviors and see if it's still coming up in the same way or if I have matured to a different perspective. As long as we are all looking to heal and to create a different perspective for our greater good, then doing this type of work is going to be beneficial. If you are doing inner child healing because you want to see who did you wrong, why they did you wrong, and you want to get back at them, that's not healing. That's revenge. And we don't do that over here. We don't do revenge. We don't do shame. We don't do guilt. We don't do regret. We don't do anything that's going to impact our own enlightenment. How am I going to be an enlightened being if I'm seeing people in a lower frequency? If I'm holding onto energy that serves no purpose? I'm not letting anything block my healing, even someone else's behavior, even if someone else doesn't see the experience in the same way, even if they never say sorry, even if they never ask for forgiveness, even if they never acknowledge their part in my history, I'm not letting that get in the way of my healing. I want to look at all things that I am carrying within my mind, my body, and my spirit in a different way for my own healing in a higher consciousness, because I recognize that every choice, every decision that I make in every aspect of my day to day life has a root connected to something in my past. So if my past is funky, my present and my future is sure to be funky too. So I want to clean up those areas. And it's not about being perfect. It's not about, getting to a point where you just allow all things to be okay. I may never be okay with some of the things from my past, but if I can hold the energy of it differently, then it doesn't disrupt my future. And so that is why we do our inner child healing in this way. So we're going to talk about what's wrong with me, because things that happen previous to this developmental stage can create the energy of us thinking that there's something wrong with us. But surely when we're 21 to 35, that's when it gets cemented in our brain that maybe I made wrong choices, maybe I made wrong decisions, maybe if I had done this way, or if I had more support, or if I, the coulda, shoulda, wouldas. When we look back at our 20s and 30s, sometimes we don't look back in a pleasant way. And we may think, if I had done things differently in my 20s and my 30s, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And so that's why today we're going to talk about that, what's wrong with me. I want us to eliminate that type of thinking from our consciousness that there's something wrong with us. It doesn't mean we absolve ourselves of responsibility for decisions and choices we've made. It means do not let your past disrupt your present and interrupt your future. Things that haven't even happened yet, you're already basing the outcome on something that happened in your past. So, how do we eliminate regret? How do we eliminate guilt? How do we eliminate shame and embarrassment and all of those things that disrupt present day us, who we are right now? Can really, really get torn apart by who we saw ourselves as in our 20s and our 30s. And so that is the time when we've broken free from our, family of origin. We're making decisions and choices for ourselves. We're looking more to our peer group to decide particular things for ourselves. And you really have to get to a point where you are clear about what is your truth versus their truth. And when I mean their truth, I mean the truth that you think people want you to have, your family, your peers. Can you distinguish between the two? Some of us in advanced ages, 40s, 50s, 60s, still have a hard time distinguishing between what is true for us and what we believe we're supposed, quote unquote, supposed to be doing. Many of us in that 21 to 35 age range, we believe that we have to complete our education, We should start our career, think about a family, whether that's through marriage or some other dynamic. We think that that's what we're supposed to do because that's what society tells us we are supposed to do. What we need to understand that what works for one does not always work for all. But when we're little kids, very, very little kids, what do we give kids for Christmas? We give them a kitchen, we give them baby dolls, we give them things to kind of set them up for what's supposed to be in their life. And when you get to 21, 35, and everybody's eyes are on you, and they're like, so what are your plans for your life? Here you've come through these teenage years and you're supposed to have this figured out. What is your life going to look like? How are you going to support yourself? What is your career going to look like? How many kids do you want to have? What time frame are you giving yourself to marriage? Do you want to be a CEO by the time you're 30? All of these advanced plans happen in this age range. And so we are inundated with choices and decisions where we may not be able to distinguish, is this what I really want? Or is this what the world tells me I'm supposed to have and I'm supposed to do and I'm supposed to be? And we are in a time period right now where a lot of those paradigms are falling away. Women are no longer wanting to have children, wanting to get married, not wanting to have, these big families. People are coming out of their careers and becoming entrepreneurs or starting things that they feel like the marketplace needs. Education looks different. Whether they're going to pay our student loans back or not, or forgive our student loans or not, people are making different choices than previous generations have made. And so it's like an upset in the consciousness, in the collective consciousness, because we are starting to see things differently, experience things differently, and feel very differently about what's supposed to happen in this age range. And older generations are upset because we think we laid the foundation for the way things are supposed to be. And this younger generation is saying we don't want to do things that way. And many of us are feeling some kind of way about it. Well, why is it that they get their student loans forgiven? Why is it that they don't have to pay for college? We had to pay for college. Why is it that they get to have, buying up the block and buying up properties and buying houses? Why is it that they're doing things that we dreamt about doing but may not have done? Because they see things differently. This younger generation, this 20 to 35 age range that is experiencing life right now, they see things differently. They're doing things differently. They have more resources available to them, and they still need our support. Because, like I said, the bigger picture is that paradigm is changing. And so, what used to be, quote unquote, a successful life may look very differently to other people. And we are having a hard time allowing that to happen. People want to love differently. People want to educate themselves differently. People want to, create jobs and opportunities in different ways. It used to be you get your job at 20 and 30, and hopefully you get that gold watch once you've spent 30 years in one job in one place, hopefully moving up the ladder, and then you can retire and they give you the gold watch. We're not doing that anymore. And people are upset about it. How dare you quit that job? You've only been there 3 months. I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. So I'm ready to do something else. And so, for those of us who are no longer in this age range, 21 to 35, we've got to look back, but not from the perspective of what's going on today. This is not about comparing today's 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds to what we experienced. We have to go back and look. Were we able to distinguish what our truth was versus the truth that society created for us? And many of us are finding, I know I'm finding, that the life that I thought I was supposed to be leading did not resonate with the me that I am right now. I thought I was supposed to get married, have kids, and I don't regret any of that, but that's the path that I thought I was supposed to take. And then it would take me into the next phase of my life and the next phase of my life. And here I am in my 50s, like, that's not this is not the path that I thought that I was supposed to take. And in some ways, I feel ill prepared. So, in some ways, I am like a child trying to figure out, what do I do with my life now? Now that I am connected to my heart, now that I know the truth of who I am, now that I have discovered what really, really makes my heart sing and what I love, and it doesn't align with the truth that I thought in my 20s and 30s, what do I do now? The very first thing that I need to clear out is any idea that there was something wrong with me, that somehow the choices and decisions that I made in my 20s and 30s were wrong. They were based upon the life that I was living at the moment, and I did the best that I knew to do with what I had. And that is true for any single one of us. And that is very much like a child. Sometimes we hold children to standards that exceed their capabilities. Look at your 20s and 30s in the same way. You did what you could with what you had. And the choices and the decisions seem like the right ones to make at that moment. We don't have any time to be in our 40s and 50s still thinking about, well, if I was 25, I would do this. If I was 30, I would do this. You did what you did. You chose what you chose. How do you change that now? How do you see it differently? Because I guarantee you, those choices and decisions that you made in your 20s and 30s, they taught you something. They weren't just for nothing. It wasn't a bunch of missteps, wrong turns, wrong relationships. Every single thing that you experienced gave you wisdom. Can you see it that way instead of living with regret, living with shame, living with guilt that is going to rob you of the time that you have left in your present moments? Sometimes we get so consumed with what is about to happen or what did happen that we cannot appreciate the moments that we're in right now. These precious moments where all things are according to how we see it being created. Earlier today, I said we're going to have an easy day. I said what type of day that I was going to have. I didn't wait for life to show up and see what I'm going to do with it. I said today's going to be an easy day. So every choice and decision that I have been making on this day, in this day, has been one of ease. Even if other people are doing things differently, they may be in their own little chaos and sandstorm. In here, it's good. Hello, my love. Mm. So you said you knew what your truth was, but there was never support or a community that felt the same way. Yes, thank God for the gift of the internet because it can connect us in ways that we did not have before. But this is a perfect example of what we experienced in our 20s and 30s and the resources that we may not have had, the support that may not have been there, the communities that may not have been created. We still learned something. And for many of us, we learned how to rely on ourselves. So I guarantee that because you knew the truth in your 20s and 30s, but you may not have had the support, you probably gained and developed a skill of how to be there for yourself, which is a valuable skill for anyone to have. Because at the end of the day, at the end of the trials and the tribulations, if you can't sit with yourself, be with yourself, support yourself, and love yourself, and tell yourself that there's nothing wrong with you, then I don't know how you're going to make it through. I love to connect with other people. But if there is a disconnection anywhere in my mind, my body, and spirit, then I'm lost. Then I'm going to be looking externally for the thing that I can create internally. So, is it a tragedy that we did not have the resources, the community, and the support that we needed when we were 20 and 30? Yes. But this is the great thing about inner child healing. We can give it to ourselves now. And so, one of the things that we can do for our inner children is to figure out what is the need. What is the need? Now, you made a great example about knowing what the truth for you was, but you didn't have a support. You didn't have the community. And that may spring up for you now when you feel unsupported, when you feel like you don't have your tribe. You have to identify that need. As I am transitioning from one phase of my life to another, I am finding and creating the new support systems that I need because I'm different. Sometimes we hang on to the same people, the same experiences because they served us well in the past. But as you are growing in your consciousness, as you are growing in your spirituality, as you are growing, your needs may be different. And you have got to learn how to distinguish what is the need and to trust it and to trust it. Yesterday, I had an amazing opportunity to sit with some amazing women who took care of me in ways that I did not expect. I thought I was going into their home to help them and support them with something, and they wound up supporting and taking care of me. And I recognize it's what I needed. I am in a season where I need to be taken care of, and I'm going to validate it. I'm not going to dismiss it. I'm not going to say, well, there's nobody out here to take care of you. No, I'm going to continuously tell myself because that's the thing that our inner children need. You may not have gotten it when you were 10. You may not have gotten it when you were 20. So you have to give it to yourself now to say, well, what do you need, baby? What does 20-year-old Yolanda need in this moment? As you are transitioning from one phase of your life to another, what do you need? I need to be taken care of. And it doesn't mean that I can't take care of my day to day responsibilities. I need care. I need affection. I need recognition. That's what I need right now because the thing that was part of my identity is changing. I'm closing my business. That was a huge part of my identity. And so, for me not to get caught up in the what's wrong with me thing, I'm going to speak on what my need is. I need to be recognized by people who are willing to do so without me begging, crying, and pleading for it. Because that would also make me feel like I did as a child. Like when I was a kid, I felt like I had to make noise, act up, and misbehave in order to get attention. I now know I don't have to do that. I did that in my 20s and 30s. All this mouth, starting a fight, starting an argument, when really I just want to be seen. I want to be heard. I still want to be seen. I still want to be heard. The need is still there. I can see it differently though, and I can get it differently. And I'm so grateful that I don't have to scream, set my hair on fire, stomp, and have a whole tantrum to get attention. I get the attention because I've said what it is that I need. Ask for what it is that you need and trust that it will be given. And I'm not even sure of where it's coming from, but it comes from places and spaces when I need it. This was also Last week was also a big week where I'm transitioning into a new role, which is very, very heavy because people's money, people's children, people's livelihood are dependent upon me making sure that I get things right. So that's a huge responsibility. And so I need reassurance that I'm smart enough. I think we get into this thing where we feel embarrassed to ask for what we need. And that can be part of your childhood experience where you did ask for what you need. I mean, when newborns come into the world, they don't have a choice. They cry out to receive. And if it was your experience where it was not always provided, that you may have had the extreme experience of neglect or abandonment, or you may not have gotten what you needed as quickly as possible. You may grow up feeling that your needs are never going to be met. And so you start to slowly stop asking, start validating. You stop even acknowledging that you have a need. Those are all things that can happen as we develop. And by the time you get to your 20s and 30s, you feel like you're on an island by yourself. There's no one here to take care of me. There's no one who's listening. And even if they are listening, I'm never complete. I'm never supported. I've had to learn to rely on myself so much that I don't even ask anymore. And that can give you, quite a challenge to get your needs met. I have I had to get to a place where I said, Yolanda, you are not possible. It's not possible for you to supply every single thing you need. Now I'm co-creating with God, and God supplies needs, and God supplies needs through other people, through our experiences as humans. We experience things and interact with one another, and we get our needs met. If you have a need right now and it's not being met, have you acknowledged what it is? Have you said in your prayers, in your meditation, I am very clear about what I need right now, and I know that I'm deserving of it, and I know that it will be provided. And then start to release the worry about where it's coming from, how it's coming. But you have to acknowledge the need, and then you have to validate it. Many of us had experiences in our childhood, and particularly in our 20s and 30s, where we were just never validated. We were looked over, overlooked. We felt like we were very clear about what it was that we wanted and needed. It just wasn't provided because either people were preoccupied or they lacked the capability of giving it. Now, one of the ways that you distinguish the truth of what you need, you also need to distinguish, are you asking for it in the right places? My beloved and I talked about this the other day. Why are we asking for things in dry places? Why are we expecting people who do not have the capability to give us things? We just keep hoping and praying, well, maybe they'll get it, maybe they'll come around. And sometimes, unfortunately, it's your family, it's your parents. You keep wanting your mother to be different, you keep wanting your father to be different, your siblings to be different. You keep hoping that they are going to change their ways and see you differently, treat you differently, provide something different. They may not have the capability to do so. So what are you looking for? What are you looking for in a dry place? Or as they said, you can't get, blood from a turnip. Why are we looking for things in places where people are just not capable of providing? We have to get better at our discernment and distinguishing where is there abundance of the thing that I need? Where is it abundantly given? Sometimes it's right in our face and we dismiss it. Sometimes it's with that person on the job who is always saying, can I do anything for you? Is there something that you need? And we just dismiss it. Oh, that's Miss Susie. She asks everybody that. Well, maybe Miss Susie has an opportunity to provide something that you need, or maybe you feel embarrassed. You got to let that go. The embarrassment, the shame. How are you supposed to get your needs met if you're too afraid to ask for them? Or if you think you're a burden, that goes back to that thinking of what's wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. You are human and you have needs. And we, those of us who are super independent, we have gotten used to giving ourselves everything, doing everything for ourselves because we've been disappointed in the past, because we felt like we were clear in what we asked for and it wasn't provided. What are you saying, beloved? Or if you are sure what to ask for, yeah, you better be clear. You have to be clear, which is why we go back to the need. What is it that you need? It may take you some time to even figure out what that is, because you might be basing it on surface level stuff. You might think, oh, well, I need some money. And as you know, my spiritual mother says, a money issue is never about money. We think if I had more money, everything would be perfect. If you had more money, you probably would just be making the same choices at a different price point. So is it really about the money, or is there something else that you need that if you got the money, then you would be able to be a better steward of the money? Or maybe if you feed the need, the money will flow freely. So maybe it's not about the money. So many of us think it's the money, or I need more time. Do you need more time? Or do you need to be a better steward of the time that you have? Are there things that you need to eliminate? These are things that nobody teaches us in our 20s and 30s. We all get the same 24 hours. You're not getting any more than that. And so, are you a good steward of the time that you have been given? Or are there some things that you need to eliminate so that the time that you have been given is exactly what you need? Are you giving yourself away in places and spaces that are not serving you? So being clear about what to ask for is essential. You cannot be clear about what you need if you are not willing to ask the hard questions and go deeper and deeper and deeper if necessary. If I know that in my 20s and 30s, I didn't make great choices when it came to relationships, then I have to take ownership of that so that I'm not thinking, well, I just need to be in I just need a better crop of individuals to choose from. Maybe it's you. Maybe the reasons relationships have not worked in your life is because there's something going on with you. Doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you, but maybe there's something that you need to discover about yourself so that your choices look different. Maybe you're not clear about what it is that you need, and therefore what you're asking for doesn't meet the instinctive need that you have within you. Because there are a lot of people right now who are taking material things, taking other things, thinking it's going to make them happy. And they find out that it's not because that wasn't the need. You thought it was the money, you thought it was the house, you thought it was the car, you thought it was the status, you thought it was the travel, you thought it was all of these external things that were supposed to make you happy, supposed to keep you satisfied and at peace, only to discover if that's not it. That might be something you want, but is it something you need? Is it something that's going to nurture you? Is it something that's going to support you? Is it something that's going to help you grow? That's a need. Wants are something different. And many of us have found that we get to a particular point in our life and we're surrounded with all of the things that we thought we wanted, and we're still not happy. We're still not at peace. But when you're 20, when you're 30, no one tells you that. People are telling you to go acquire stuff. Go acquire the job, go acquire the house, go acquire the car, the marriage, the kids, go acquire those things, and then you'll be happy, only to discover those things can support your happiness. But if you are not happy in here internally, you're going to always be looking for outside sources to support you. Many of us in our 20s and 30s, our motivation and our inspiration is really surface and superficial, because, when you're young, you think, well, when I get to be a particular age and I get all of these things, then life is really going to start to get good. And then you realize it takes a lot to maintain those things too. The things that you say you wanted, well, I wanted the big house. Well, it takes a lot to maintain the big house. And I wanted, this particular type of lifestyle. Well, it takes some sacrifices to maintain all of that. We have to look at ourselves differently now than we did then, because perhaps there was some things that we weren't clear about in terms of what do I need? And how do you validate yourself? If you are the type of individual that engages in a lot of negative self talk, that may not have started with you. That may have been something that happened when you were younger. You modeled that behavior. Maybe that was something that motivated you when you were younger. Um, it's interesting when I see the dynamic of athletes and how sometimes coaches will use negative feedback in order to get their athletes, their players to do particular things. You know, I think we have to again be able to distinguish what works for us versus where it works for us. So that may work on the field, but is it working when you're mentally and emotionally connected to things in your personal life? We celebrate that. We celebrate the hard talking coach. We celebrate the coach that's willing to yell in their players' faces and break up clipboards and say and do the things to motivate their team to victory. We celebrate that. But does that really work in our personal day-to-day life? So if you are engaging in negative self-talk and you're using that as motivation to push you into doing particular things, you might want to take a look at that. Where did that start? Is that something that you got from your caregivers, where instead of positive reinforcements, there were a whole lot of negative reinforcements? I'm going to take this away from you if you don't do what I say. You're going to be on punishment if you don't do these things. Again, you have to take a look at your past to recognize what motivates you and how you are inspired to move. Hey, Miss Sarah, how you doing from LA? Taking a look at your past is not about looking at what is wrong with you. It's about information and discovery as to why you move the way you move, why you hold particular energy in your consciousness in the way that you hold it now. I was one that engaged in a lot of negative self talk. I used to call myself stupid all the time. You're so dumb. You're so silly. You just don't know what to do. Now the language is a lot different. It comes from a place of love. I may say to myself, all right, you didn't get that right, but you're going to get it eventually. Or that's another thing for you to learn. Or I haven't yet gotten to that. The way you talk to yourself is the way that you're talking to your heart. How are you inspiring yourself on a day to day basis? I hope it's not with the same mentality that you did in your 20s and 30s. I hope it's with a different perspective where you recognize that, yeah, I may have had some missteps in the past, but even in my missteps, I learned something. I either learned not to do that again, or I learned the way that I learned. I said last week, I know I'm hard headed. I know that I have to go through things a couple of times before I really, really get it. And I give myself grace because of it. I'm no longer talking to myself like, why you got to do this 20 million times before you figure it out? Because that's the way I figure stuff out. That's who I am. And I'm not trying to be any different. Like I said earlier today, when I woke up, I'm like, we're going to have an easy day. We're not going to fight with ourselves. We're not going to fight with nobody else. It's just going to be easy peasy today, tomorrow, and the rest of this week. I am determined to have an easy life, or a life filled with ease. I've already had another kind of life, and I don't want to relive that. And so that is why I do my inner child healing, to act when the stuff starts to come up and I'm starting to feel frustrated, angry, and disappointed. That's when what's the need? You need something. You are telling yourself you need something and you're not getting it, and you are ready to fight to get it, and you don't have to fight. You really don't have to fight. I don't have to fight for anybody to love me. I don't have to fight for anyone to support me. I don't have to fight for anything in my life. I don't know where that got started. But again, those old paradigms that we got to suffer and we got to fight and we got to, claw our way to the top. I'm done with that. We should be done with that. The God of my understanding does not want me to fight anyone, anywhere, at any time. That has already been paid. That price has been paid for me. So, what am I doing? Creating that kind of energy in my life. I did that in my 20s and 30s. I thought I had to fight for everything. I now know that if it is for me, I don't have to fight for it. And if I don't receive it, then I probably don't need it. And that is another reason why we need to be very, very clear about what our needs are. What is the need? So when you start to feel upset, when you start to feel like you did in your 20s and your 30s, that no one sees me, no one respects me, I can't be, don't feel connected to anyone, that's when you start to ask yourself, what do you need? And not that superficial stuff, not just the surface level stuff. Oh, I need a hug. Hugs are great, but there's probably something deeper going on. I need to feel valued. I need to know that I matter. I need to know that there is a purpose to my life. That is a deeper understanding of a need. And then validate it. I am purposeful. I am here on purpose. And I deserve to be recognized for all that I am, not just the parts that are comfortable to other people. And so finding what's true to me, when you talked about knowing what the truth was for you, but not having support or a community. It sounds as if you are finding that now through internet communities. Thank goodness that we can create the soul family that we need because we know we deserve it. You will not seek particular things unless there's some conscious or unconscious belief that you need it. When you're hungry, you know you need to eat. When you're thirsty, you know you need to drink. When you're sleepy, you know you need to sleep. And when you are feeling unappreciated, when you are feeling less than, you need love. You need it. To act as if we don't need it is just insane to me. Why are we behaving as if we don't need one another? We don't need affection, we don't need care, we don't need love, we don't need kindness, we need it to survive. It is part of how we were created. And so it's a need. So I'm going to always ask for it. And it doesn't mean that I'm running around to everybody say, I need you to love me. I need you to love me. I need you to love me. I get clear with myself. I need the attention of, and whomever or whatever it may be at that particular moment. And I trust that it will be provided. I don't have to say, I need y'all to invite me places. I need to be included. I don't fight my way into any place. I'm always surrounded in love because I know I deserve it. It was in those moments when I did not know I deserved it that I was always seeking, searching, trying to find it. When you carry yourself with that energy of, I am deserving of love and a particular type of love, real love, honorable love, holy love, sacred love, I know that I am deserving of that. I validate and then I trust that it will be provided. I'm not always sure of where it's coming from. And like I said yesterday, I was so pleasantly surprised by the love that I received. Let me tell you something. One of the greatest things that anybody can do for me is to feed me well. I was fed well yesterday. I still can't stop thinking about the loving words, the prayer, and then asking me to pray. Yesterday was beautiful. Today is even more glorious because I know I deserve moments like that. I know I deserve these type of experiences. I didn't know that in my 20s and 30s. I thought I had to bang the drum in order to get my needs met because that's what I saw. And that's what I experienced when I was younger. And because I know that about me, and I know that that is a need when that thing comes up, when I'm starting to tantrum because I don't feel like I'm being paid attention to, I can head it off at the pass and say, you don't have to do all of that. Just speak what the need is. Validate that you deserve it and trust that it will be provided. And so distinguishing and being very clear about what your needs is, it's very different than when you were 20 and 30. You know, one of the other things that when you're in that age range, you have to balance work and play because you feel your youth slipping away. And you may have your loyalty to your job, right? Because you want to move up in your career and you're killing yourself. I can't, ooh, in my 20s and 30s, I was killing myself for jobs that didn't give a damn about me. They never paid me what I was worth, but I was killing myself because that's what I thought we were supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to climb up the ladder in your 20s and 30s. And so you got to balance killing yourself and the loyalty to a job versus I want to play because I'm still young. And sometimes there's quite an imbalance between the two, and you lose your discernment for what is most important in this moment. Sometimes you're playing way too much. Sometimes you're working way too much. You're at those extremes, those polar opposites. It can be challenging in your 20s and 30s to find that balance. And we see so many young people who are either quitting their jobs because it's just way too much, or they're pouring themselves into their jobs so much that they're missing out on life. No one tells us when we're young how to balance those things. All we hear is work, 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 work. And now we have a bunch of overwhelmed, anxiety ridden 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, because this age range, that's what happens. No one shows us what balance is. However, I am hopeful that this new generation coming up is a lot more smarter than we were. I am hopeful that this new generation is creating healthy boundaries for themselves so that they're not burnout by the time they're 40, or so they're not, you know, clear about the direction for their lives by the time that they're 30. Because when you operate at those extremes, time is still ticking. And then you can find yourself playing catch up. But no one really gives us an education on how to do that. How do I balance the two where I don't lose myself? How do I stay comfortable so that my basic needs are being met? I can house myself, feed myself, clothe myself. I can do all of the things that I need to do that are comfortable and familiar. But how do I also keep the newness of life and adventure part of that too? Balancing that. Heck, I know some 50-year-olds who are still having a challenge at balancing the two. I always say it will happen willingly or unwillingly. Life is going to balance you out willingly or unwillingly. You're either going to get so overwhelmed that you're exhausted and you have a breakdown, but you're going to get your rest one way or another. I would like to be a willing participant in my rest. I would like to be a willing participant in my balance. I don't want anything else coming in and saying, you're out of balance, so I'm going to put you in balance. Sometimes our bodies will shut down physically because we are out of balance. If you are in your 40s and your 50s and you are still challenged with that, you better get right. You better figure out how to balance out the need to be comfortable and the need to be adventurous, the need to work, the need to play, because nobody tells us how to do that. We like to burn, what do they say? Burn the candle at both ends when we're 20. I can remember being in my 20s, going to work and then going out and then barely having enough time to brush my teeth and do it all again. That's an imbalanced life. We think it's fun until it catches up with us. But also, we're not recognizing what we are doing to ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually when we're living a life full of stress and anxiety. We think it's supposed to be that way, and it is not. No one ever said you're supposed to be stressed. You're supposed to have anxiety. I was in the store yesterday, and this young girl was ringing me up. And she told her boss, she said, I'm going to go on my break because I think I'm depressed. And she said it so matter of factly that I was like, wow, do you really mean that? Are you really, going to take your break so that you can take care of yourself? Or have you gotten to a place where depression is just like breathing? That's sad to me that our young people think that they're supposed to be depressed or supposed to be anxious. You're not. There is a need somewhere in your mind, your body, and spirit that is not being met. And you have to get about the business of discovering what that is. Inner child healing is not the only way to discover that. It's one of the ways that we can discover it because a lot of these behaviors get created in our youth. It's either something we saw, it's either something somebody told us we were supposed to do, or it's something that we brought into because everybody was doing it this way. And this is the way that I think that life is supposed to be. We are individuals. We are part of a collective consciousness, but we are individuals. What's true for me and right for me may not be true and right for you. But there is an overall theme of each and every single one of us figuring out what our truth is. And we are responsible for doing that. We are responsible for being connected to our individual purpose in this moment. It may not be what it was when you were 20 and when you were 30. And there are a lot of us who are still holding on to that stuff. The core of it may be the same, but the way in which you do it may be different. And so, if there are some regrets from your 20s and your 30s, like, I wish I had been a singer, I wish I had been a dancer, doesn't mean that you have to disconnect from that. It just means it could be expressed in a different way. Are you feeding that? Are you feeding that need? Are you validating and are you trusting that that thing that was created within you oh so long ago is still there, still valid, and still needs to be nurtured and poured into? Or have you convinced yourself that you're too old? My time has passed. I can't be bothered with such things. I got other things to worry about. One of the reasons that I made the decision to close my business doesn't mean that 2 years from now I might open it back up. I don't know. But right now, life is so delicious. I want to spend time in the places and spaces that give me peace, with my family, with my friends, creating new friend groups, discovering what is out there that having a business and being an entrepreneur just did not allow me to do. I just did not have the time to explore life in the way that I'm looking forward to exploring life right now. And I'm willing to risk my business and everything that I created because I know I deserve it. I deserve a life of leisure. I deserve some relaxation, and I'm willing to risk everything to get it. And I'm trusting. And so for me, it even doesn't even really feel like a risk. It feels like destiny. It feels like this is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm grateful for it. I didn't always have this sense of knowing who I am, knowing what I love, knowing what my needs are. Sometimes before the need even rises to the level of my consciousness, I'm already taken care of. That's a good place to be when you don't even have to ask, you don't even have to create it in your mind. It's already present. And I know it's because of the balance that I've created in my mind, my body, and my spirit. That the things that I said at the beginning of this year that I wanted in my life, balance, new love, and nature. And those things are coming to me without me having to fight. And the same is true for all of us. The universe is abundant. There is no lack anywhere in the universe. That is a lie that we need to stop telling, that there's not enough. There's more than enough. But do you believe it? If you don't believe it, then you're going to always be seeking, searching, and acting like a miser, trying to hoard things and keep them to yourself. I know that love is abundant. I know that the resources that I need for a good life for myself are abundant. And so the more I identify and connect with what my needs are, the more I validate them and say I am deserving of them. And it is present. That is part of the validation, acknowledging that it's present. If I say I need more money, then I'm also going to validate and say, and I know it's out there. And I know I deserve it. And I trust that it is coming. And it may not come in the way that I think. It may not come in dollars and cents. It may come in opportunities and experiences, like the one that I had yesterday. I felt like I traveled around the world and I didn't even move 7 minutes from where I was. But I sat with individuals from other parts of the world and they fed me from their culture and they accepted me as one of their own. Please, I get what I need. And I trust the same is true for all of us if we are willing to allow ourselves to think like a child. As I said before we started, before you master any developmental skill, before children learn how to tie their shoes, go to the bathroom, ride a bike, before any of those things happen, there's this knowing that I'm going to do it. I'm going to ride this bike. I'm going to tie these shoes. I'm going to learn how to do this thing. There's a belief. No matter how many times I fall off the bike, there's a belief that I'm going to get it because I see everybody else doing it. It can't be that hard until we get into it and we're like, yeah, this is harder than I thought. But for little children, There's that belief that I can do this. We have to be like children in all aspects of our lives by thinking, I have to do this. I can do this. I will do this. No matter how many times I fall, that's part of me learning. There is a mystery of how to do this thing, and I'm going to figure it out. And along the way, I'm going to learn something about myself. Maybe I'm going to learn that the way somebody else rides their bike is not the way that I am going to learn how to ride my bike. Maybe I'm going to learn the way somebody else ties their shoes is not the way that I'm going to learn how to tie my shoes. I'm going to learn something about my individual needs and how I do things the way that I do them. But I'm going to figure this mystery out. And once I master the skill, this thing is going to bubble up in me where I really, really connect with the power that was in me the whole entire time and how that power moves through me from one skill to the next skill to the next skill to the next skill. So it goes from I learned how to tie my shoes, I learned how to tie my tie, I learned how to make an entire different outfit. Whatever it is, the progression of that, act like a child and just suspend all disbelief and come into that energy of, yeah, I can do this. Oh, I love Mary Oliver. Pay attention, be astonished, and tell about it. Thank you. Yes. Yes, there is no hoarding to understanding. I don't know where that comes from, but I'm telling you, we are still children because there are still things we have yet to accomplish. There are still things that we have yet to conquer. But if we do so with an understanding that there's nothing wrong with you, there may be things that you don't know today that you are going to know tomorrow. Keep going, keep moving, keep figuring out the way that you learn and the way that you fail. I got to fall hard sometimes before I get it. I know that about me. And so I can give myself grace. If I fall flat on my face and I am embarrassed, I'm like, Yolanda, you know this is part of your process. And if this is where we at in our process, that means we're closer to getting this thing right. We're closer to getting it. Just like a child. That's right, baby. Just nod your head. Because we're going to get this thing. And part of getting it is also recognizing and realizing, not like our 20s and 30s, it can't be done in isolation. Yeah, no hoarding. We have to have these conversations with one another. We have to believe and be gentle with people. One of the things that I have been discovering that as I am looking at myself, that I'm seeing other people when their inner children are asking for something. You know, when you see an adult and their behavior is like, hmm, childlike or tantrum like, or just seems to be inappropriate for the situation that they're in, that's their inner child showing up, saying they need something without knowing how to ask for it. Give people grace. Doesn't mean you let them act up and run all over you, but come to an understanding of who you are dealing with. You may not be dealing with present day person. You might be dealing with the younger version of them that hasn't gotten to that level of healing yet. Pay attention to everything from the lens of a child. Doesn't mean immature, but open to wonder, open to being surprised, open to seeing a miracle, open to seeing a mystery unfold in front of you. I wish someone had told me that when I was 20 and 30, but if they did, then I wouldn't have learned what I needed to learn to make this version of me that you see now. I am grateful for 20-year-old Yolanda, 30-year-old Yolanda, and all that she experienced. She had to fall hard so many times. And she told herself, you only have you to depend on. I now know the truth. It taught me how to do many things for myself. And now it is teaching me I can share those things with other people, and I no longer have to do those things by myself. I have needs, and they're going to be met because I'm deserving of it. I'm going to validate who I am, how I show up, however it looks. I'm not going to tell myself I'm wrong. I can say that I may have made a misstep somewhere, but I'm still going to learn from it. I'm still going to learn from it. There is always something bigger happening. And we are a part of that bigger picture where what we thought we knew is changing into something different. And we're contributing to that. And I know that I want my contribution to be part of love, to be part of wonder. I don't want to contribute to the negativity that's already present. I'm trying to tear and rip that stuff down. And I know that you are too, because if you weren't, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We wouldn't have found one another. And so anything in your thoughts, in your feelings that places you as being wrong, incomplete, um, any of those things, let's do away with that and say, I'm learning every day just like a child. And I'm going to master. Yes, be open to the wonder. There are things that I don't know. I love that at this big age, there are still things that I am going to learn, and I'm open to it. Teach me whatever you want to teach me in the way that is best for me, where I will be able to understand and have a level of awareness that is for my highest good, even if I don't like the way it looks sometimes. Not asking until your late 30s when you, sometimes that happens, giving to and loving someone else. Yes, because we can't give to others if we are depleted. And sometimes being connected to someone outside of your body, as they say, your heart living outside of your body. Sometimes it's your children, sometimes it's your partner. That will put you in a frame of mind of, I got to make this work. I can't fail. I can't fall. So I'm going to have to figure it out. I had a conversation with a young woman the other day where she was embarrassed to ask for something. I said, let me tell you something. If I sat here as a mother at 50 and watched a young mother struggle when I know what that's like, then everything that I experienced and went through was for nothing. I am here to tell you, my dear, my darling, my daughter, please let people support you. And it's not us doing everything for you, it's showing what we experienced. That's what we go through those things for, so that we can show and say to other people, been there, done that. Let me support you, because I know what it feels like to be unsupported. And I don't want anyone else to experience that. And so I'm grateful that even in those moments where I felt isolated, there were people. I may not have been willing to acknowledge it. I may not have been willing to be, recognizing them when I was younger. You got a chip on your shoulder, you feel like you're doing things and it's hard. But there are always individuals around you. There is always spiritual activity going on around you that you may not be aware of. And the more you validate and acknowledge that, the more you become aware of that. The more you say, I know I got a spirit team who is working hard for me, because I'm a hard customer to work for and to work on behalf of. So many pitfalls that I'm not even aware of, that I have been spared from, because there's spiritual activity going on around me at all times, and so many pieces and parts that have to move in order for me to be great. I'm grateful for it. Please acknowledge, as you are validating yourself, please acknowledge and validate all that is being done on your behalf, whether you are consciously aware of it or not. Be grateful for the paths that have been laid for you, whether you know them by name or not. People prayed for you, laid a path for you. And in many ways, the life that I'm living now, I feel like it is a gift to my mother, my grandmother, because this may not have been a life that they could have even dreamed of having. Those weren't women worked their fingers to the bone so that their daughter, granddaughter, great great granddaughter could say, I'm going to live a life of ease on behalf of the women that came before me, the women and the men, those people in my family, whether I have ever met them or not, that worked so hard without the recognition that they deserve, without the compensation that they deserved, without the things and the resources that they needed. I'm doing this on their behalf. I'm going to take my rest. I'm going to be surrounded in love. I'm going to say to everyone that I meet that I know that I deserve it. And in those places where it is not being served or given, I don't go there. I don't go there. I go where there is love. And this is one of the places where love is served every Sunday at 1 o'clock. So let's take a deep breath so that we can go through this week thinking about that 20, 30-year-old version of ourselves and not think about them in ways where we are regretting or embarrassed. But let's say thank you for all that you endured so that we can have this right now moment with a level of awareness and a different perspective that says, thank you for the choices that you made, whether you felt like you had a choice or not, for the decisions that you were pushed into, pulled into, for the things that you feel that fell at your feet. So many unexpected life happenings and experiences in our 20s and 30s. And we felt like life was coming at us so fast and we just had to deal with it. I'm grateful for all of it. I made it through. Not everyone can say that. And so I am grateful. I have no shame about anything that I did in my 20s and 30s. I learned something. I saw something. I survived something. And I'm grateful that through that wisdom, because of those experiences, I can say I know that I deserve so much more than I knew that I deserved in my 20s and 30s. I believe that if I had not gone through those things, I wouldn't be so damn sure right now that I'm going to get what I'm going to get. I've already endured enough trauma. I've already endured enough disappointment. I've already endured enough hardship in my life. I don't need any more. And even if some dark days come, I can think about the experiences. I can say to myself, girl, you got over 30, 40 years of experience of dealing with heartache and heartbreak. You are at a master level. So we will do it differently if we have to. We will see it differently. We will hold it differently. We will hold it with a different energy and perspective. Because of what we endured then, we don't have to do it the same way now. Our choices can look different based upon those experiences. And for that, I am so grateful. So as this week continues, that will be filled with so much mystery, so many surprises, so many miracles that are unknown to us all. Let us do so with a sense of wonder, like a child, recognizing that there may be times that we stumble like a child, where we are in a lack of understanding like a child, but that we are consistently and constantly growing. We are consistently and constantly growing, expanding. And so I can meet any challenge that comes in this week. I can meet any experience that comes in this week, knowing that I'm going to make sure that my needs are met. I'm going to ask for what I need. If I need to take time and figure out what my process and ways of determining and distinguishing exactly what my need is, then I'm going to do that. I'm not going to be rushed. I'm not going to feel anxious. I'm going to move at the pace that is comfortable for me so that I can get to a level of understanding so that I can make choices that I feel good about, that I'm sure about, and so that I can see my own power moving through every single experience until I get to the other side where I can say, I did that. I mastered that. I leveled up. And it's because I acknowledged that there was a need, I validated that need, and I trusted that all things were going to be provided because I deserve it and because it has already been promised me. So I don't have to fight for a thing. I am eliminating the energy of anxiety and fight from my body, from my spirit, from my mind, because it is not necessary and it gets in the way of the truth. It gets in the way of my internal GPS system. I know what to do. I know where to go. I know who I am. And I am trusting. And I hope that this week for you is filled with a whole lot of trust in yourself, trust in one another. And if you can't trust in man, then trust in the God of your understanding. That you're going to see what you need to see, hear what you need to hear, feel what you need to feel, touch what you need to touch in a way that will allow you to have an awareness and understanding that may be just your own understanding. Other people don't have to understand it. It's for you. You need to hear it. You need to receive it. You need to believe in it. Just like you did when you were younger, when you believed you were going to ride that bike, you believed you were going to tie your shoes, believed you were going to learn how to dress yourself, you believed you were going to learn how to drive, and all of those other things that we somehow trusted that we were going to be able to do, even if we were afraid while we were doing it, just like a child. Do it with wonder. Do it with the expectation that this miracle is going to unfold in front of me. And I may even laugh at myself later for ever doubting myself. I love you, love you, love you. I love you, love you, love you. I love you, love you, love you. I thank you for your participation, your comments. Hey, beloved, you know I thank you for your support. And in this season of me needing care and affection, you have been providing in abundance, and I am so grateful for you. And it is my hope and desire that everyone get to experience that level of support and love in their life where they don't even have to ask for it. It's just provided because we deserve it, each and every single one of us. I love y'all. Thank y'all for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next Sunday. Until then, be well. Take care of your inner children. Ask them what they need. Validate it as the truth, and then trust that whatever is necessary and needed, it will be provided. Love y'all.